Mark Carpet, author of To Ear is Human, Intimacy in the Age of Podcasting. I'm also the former host of the podcast, Mark Carpet's Popsperiences. Now lapsed, but don't worry, Popsperians, new episodes may be coming sooner than you think. Of course, I'm not here in my role as podcaster today, but rather as moderator. Joining me in my garage are some of the leading lights of podcasting today. I've gathered them here to discuss the radical potentials of this medium and its current state of affairs. I'd like to now inaugurate what I'm sure will be an enlightening conversation by introducing my guests. Joining me first is Tammie Stein of The Killer's Insides. Hello, Tammie.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm getting chills already.
Thank you.
Joining me as well is the host of the revolutionary Jack Mickle experience, the infamous Jack Mickle.
Yeah, good to see you, bro. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, brother.
Yeah, how's it going?
Joining me last is a legend in the podcasting space. It's Tyler Garcia, host of The Breath of Yesterday. Yeah. Tyler, hello.
Thank you for having me, Mark. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm sure you are. I'd like to open up this conversation by discussing the state of podcasting today. It's only become more popular since its humble beginnings. I'm interested in whether you hosts can talk about your feelings on the current saturation of podcasting as a medium. Where does the medium stand today?
Sure. I'm happy to start this. The idea of podcasting came from the common man's sort of radio. How do I get into it, right? Casting yourself out, and also just being able to put yourself in a really specific niche. If you remember back in 2006 when the first iPhone came out and Apple introduced the App Store and the podcasting app, that was really the first time where people finally had access to this kind of content in a really digestible way through simply only audio that wasn't radio, right?
Yeah, to me, I think a lot of podcasting is about passion and finding what your passion is and kind of developing that niche via your passion. And I think like a lot of girls growing up in the 90s, I had a sort of a fascination and a celebrity crush with, serial killer Ed Gein, the Plainsfield Butcher.
Of course.
And I think what's so rare about me is that I was one of the only girls I know who actually went out and made that passion.
Yeah, I totally
career.
agree with that. That's where I was coming from. There wasn't a lot of strong guys in the podcasting arena, and I wanted to spread my message about how important it is to take mushroom yogurt when you wake up in the morning and hunt and talk about fighting a lot. So I just, I started my podcast, and as you guys are probably all fans of that, so I appreciate you having me on again.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You guys bring such a unique perspective to this sort of game. My background is in public radio, so what we do is all about purveying information and creating content that's really like intellectually stimulating.
I just want to say really quick that I am really, really happy to be here, and I'm always just incredibly comfortable when I'm in a room full of white people because I don't know if you've noticed, but 100% of serial killers are white men, and 100% of podcasters are white men, and so I just really do feel at home in this room right now because it's what I immerse myself in: is serial killing, podcasting, and those are the two most white male-dominated professions, and so I just feel very comfortable and very honored.
Which is why self-defense is so important, because you never know what people are really thinking, and somebody if you were to come at me, I could just grab you, put you in like a choke real quick, strangle you out. I wouldn't do that. We're friends.
And what would you
friends.
What would you do after that?
Oh well, I'm not a violent guy. Just a self-defense kind of thing.
But you have the power to kill.
Oh, yeah. No, I could kill anybody in this room really easily, but obviously I wouldn't, and I'm also pretty stoned right now, so.
Does knowing that you have the power to end a life, how does that play into your podcasting style?
I think it just brings confidence. It's always good when you wake up in the morning to eat right, do like a lot of sit-ups, core stuff. Then you walk into the interview, and you're ready to go.
I couldn't help but notice you said the word eat. Folks, do you find yourself eating out too often because you have no idea how to cook? Or, like me, you like to cook but just don't know where to start? Are you great at following instructions?
I'm really great at following instructions.
I'd like to talk to you about Fresh Apron.
Fresh Apron is like the Legos
of meal making. They mail you every ingredient.
You get all the ingredients in the mail.
It's so
easy fun and it's easy.
You'll find yourself wanting to cook
and you'll want to
cook
the meals for brunch, dinner, and dessert.
Dessert.
I actually cooked one right before the show.
What's crazy is I actually cooked one of these meals right before the show.
I cooked everything. I cooked the broccoli feta macaroni and the chicken basil curry pasta. And it was delicious.
But seriously, it was delicious.
This isn't just an advertisement.
I'm going to set down
I'm going to set down this ad copy as well.
I'm a fan of these meals.
I love
to get
these
my
meals.
food in the mail. I love
the ham-baked salami salad
and it's so yummy.
It's
I'll say
delicious.
I'm obsessed with these meals.
I'm obsessed with these meals.
Fresh Apron all day.
Fresh Apron.
Fresh Apron.
I'm just compelled to mention that. Please speak to me.
I wanted to make a point. If we're getting back to what we were talking about before,
we might be.
You mentioned that when you come into an interview, you really try to bring the energy of a killer. And I just wanted to ask, and maybe you guys can parlay into this too. Isn't that a bit? Doesn't that put your guest, make them a bit defensive? To me, the
key.
Why do
you say that?
Well,
see, I came at you with the killer's instinct there.
Yeah, and it threw me off. So to me, a good interview is all about disarming people, right? You want to be friendly, you want to be approachable, you want to be kind of soft.
Yeah, and if you're disarming people too, most people keep weapons here, and in their socks, and up in their pant leg, and in their sleeve.
Absolutely, but I'm talking about like just the emotional vulnerability, disarming the defenses that we put on our minds.
I totally agree with you.
When it comes to communication.
I like every time a guest comes in, I try to make them my bro. I talk to them about, like the fight yoga I started, see if they want to get into that. I don't know, Mark, if you want to do some rolls with me.
I'm only vaguely familiar with fight yoga, but I'd love to do some rolls after our talk.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can stretch beforehand. We should do it. I think we all could do it. Women obviously can do it too. It's great.
It truly is the 21st century. Interesting. I'd like to move on, and we've already sort of approached the edge of this subject, but perhaps we could talk about it a little bit more. We've heard you speak about the origins of your podcasting. Of course, I have my own, starting Mark Carpet's Popsperians, and really growing that from just a hobby I would do after work into, some would say, one of the most trenchant podcasts about 80s and 90s pop culture. Really talking about how important Back to the Future was for me as a movie and helping me reconcile with my father. That episode was featured on the Onion AV Club, most podcasts that had us crying, 2012. But of course I digress. I'd like to talk to you about the best time to get into podcasting. It may be now, or it may not be. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. What is the best time to get into podcasting?
Sure. We mentioned earlier that we live in a time now where the podcasting world is extremely saturated. You go to some place like Los Angeles or New York, every other person you meet has a podcast. So now in the time where everything is saturated, now might actually be the best time. Because the equipment to do so is accessible. It doesn't require a lot of knowledge of technology to get started. And all you really need is just a good idea and refinement. And that will rise you to the top.
I think I agree with that everybody should eventually get into it. But I think that, you need some life experience before you get started in a podcast. Maybe you were a fighter. Maybe you were hunted for a long time. Maybe you know a lot about conspiracy theories like the Egyptians and aliens and that kind of thing. If
whether
you know about
the
that
Egyptians
stuff,
were real.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. There's no proof that they were ever real, or they were very real. We don't know. It's just something to ask and think about.
Well, not to diverge, but part of my job in radio is to parlay information to give the audience facts and knowledge that is accurate. And I just, it's in my nature to do this. And I just want to say that the Egyptians were real.
I've been podcasting since I was 12, and obviously you're going, well, there were no podcasts when I was that young, but for me it was just something as simple as staying up very, very late at night, taking my own tape recorder, and speaking about Jeffrey Dahmer for hours and hours and hours in my bed, and then finally kind of figuring out when podcasts started surfacing that this was the thing that other people would listen to. And I think that was probably the best time. That's probably the best time to get into it.
12 years old.
Do you think that Jeffrey Dahmer was like the best serial killer?
In terms of the most people or in terms of the most creative? I definitely think Jeffrey Dahmer was the best necrophiliac.
Sorry, my nephew is throwing a tantrum in the other room. But
is he okay?
Repressed masculinity can lead to following women home.
Maybe your
having
nephew
sex with
needs
corpses.
a website for his next business.
It's entirely possible.
But if he needs one and he doesn't have coding experience and he doesn't have the money to hire someone from Bangladesh to do it for him, he needs to build an online portfolio. So if he's in the need of that, Square Chimps can help,
Well, that's so interesting. I'd actually like to talk about Square Chimps myself. If you're in need of an easy solution for web developing programs, Square Chimps is there to help. I don't know if you can speak to this, but I use it to build my site. Do you want to talk about this too? It's easy as drag and drop, click and stick, push and pull, lick and pick. I mean, do you feel the same way? Would you like to discuss that?
Yeah. Well, I've never used Square Chimps, so
really? I use it all the time.
I use it all the time.
I literally have no coding
experience. Find
it
really good for drag and drop, click and stick, push and pull, lick and pick, save and repeat. Square Chimps.
My website looks great, and I couldn't have done it.
My website looks great, and I couldn't have done it without Square Chimps.
Seriously, I know everyone's telling you that your website is,
I know
website.
Everybody's telling you to
really
get on a
I'll drop the
website.
ad copy. I just love this product.
I'll drop the ad copy too.
I'm not even reading an ad. I just love Square Chimps.
I literally love Square Chimps.
Yeah, well, you guys have convinced me. I should make my own website too. Huh?
And when you're there, use offer code CARPET.
Yeah, or offer code Jack Mickle Experience.
Great, yeah.
Whatever you feel.
Or experience, not the whole thing, obviously.
This speaks to a really interesting point, if I may.
Speak on the point. Speak on the point. And speak
we've been talking about when the best time to get into podcasting is.
Absolutely.
And another argument for the time is now to get into it is because I think...
Interesting.
We're reading ad copy, we're reading ads.
I'm compelled to jump in here. I'm not reading ad copy. I just feel like in the course of our conversation, we're happening to mention brands that I really identify with.
Yeah, I'm not reading ad copy, but are you losing buttons every day? Can you even find a pair of pants with the buttons still there? Don't get me started on button-down shirts. With the Dollar Button Society, you can now even subscribe to receive fresh buttons every single day. I use Button Society pretty much every day of my life.
I order buttons all the time, and I always
they have
need to
90s TV show themed buttons from cool artists like Limp Bizkit.
Way more buttons than I need.
I order buttons all the time, and I've got so many buttons from
all these buttons.
the Dollar Button Society.
.com/markcarpet/the
killers insides. Make sure you use our code for 10% off on a button.
Mark Carpet. And so I mentioned that only to say that I'm just simply talking about brands that I love and identify with and happen to have an offer for something like 10% off your first order of buttons if you use offer code Mark Carpet. But anyway, I believe you were speaking to a point that was being spoken upon. So if you would like to continue speaking to the point, feel free to speak on that.
I was going to say that podcasting now is a monetizable medium, and things like live reads.
Talk to me about that.
Well, brands, I think I've noticed that they're able to reach a really unique audience when they tap into the podcast market. They look at who their target is, and then they find what those people are listening to, and they pay those podcasters to mention their brands. Like we did earlier.
I didn't get paid to mention any of those
And I
brands.
don't get
Those are
paid
just the
to
brands that
mention
I
any of
really
those
truly
brands.
love.
Those are
okay.
just the brands that
I truly love
identify
Dollar
with.
Button Society and Square Chimps.
As well as the other brands that were mentioned.
that were mentioned.
Yeah, I do recall.
There was a food one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
I
get paid
couldn't-
either.
I
I
couldn't
just
agree
want
more.
people that use buttons.
Absolutely. Sure.
I think my listeners would like that, and I like it. I use.
Oh,
it.
you guys all really feel passionately about those
passionate.
products.
I'm
Okay.
very
Yeah,
passionate.
all the products.
They were not.
And
We're not paid to mention that.
And there's the potential that later
Despite-
I could become passionate about different projects.
Despite having this copy, this live read copy.
Don't get
We're
that.
not.
Don't get a. I simply want to entertain this disruption of this symposium. We're really talking about podcasting, and I'd like to ask the question: why do fans feel so connected to podcasters? You, all three of you, I think. You have these podcasts that are so well known, and they so have their deeply entrenched, passionate fan bases. And I'm wondering, what do you think about your specific podcast or your way of podcasting really get fans attached?
Well, once again, I'm Tammie Stein, and
I couldn't agree more with that.
And my podcast is called The Killer's Insides, and I really do think that so much of connecting with your audience is just connecting with your subject matter, and I think that one of the things that people are so connected with in true crime podcasts is that serial killers are actually just so similar to us. For example,
Yes.
Ted Bundy, he was a smart man. He's white, just like us.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, he follows, he would pretend to be injured to lure young women into his car. That's very relatable.
We've all done
and
that
I
at
think
least
that
I've never done
Yeah,
I
I haven't
think
done
In
that.
high school?
I've never
that
Never did that in high school.
because
No,
I
I've
can
never.
relate so much to
Well, we all
these
do.
people who have done such insane, horrible things. Like, it's kind of like, who is the killer's insides?
I mean, with my thing, I just try and make myself accessible. I think my listeners, they can see me. Sometimes I'll be, hiking in Runyon, doing like upside down push-ups with my dog. Or bring my dog to the park.
And that's how
intimidate
we
other
met.
dogs. Yeah, you saw
That's
me
how
doing
we-
that. I was doing a lot. I was trying to show you how to do it, and
You
you're doing a good. Yeah,
doing
great
a
form.
side plank looking
Yeah.
at you.
It's really interesting. I think
Speak on
you guys bring a really authentic point of view to
Interesting.
what in your podcast, each of you. My approach is a little different since my radio show is about current events, eclectic music, and anything in that sort of that lives in that realm.
Sure.
A lot of what I bring to the table isn't only my own authentic experience. It's also like really, really about purveying what's current and relevant to people like us in our age and our demographic, right?
Interesting. I find a shocking similarity to my own, of course. Much lauded at the time, but of course now, not in production anymore. Podcast of Mark Carpet's Pop Experiences, where I did, I think, sort of blend my own personal, authentic experiences with the universal experience I think that people of any age had, which was really liking Back to the Future and Teen Wolf and finding those movies to be really cool and important for them.
No, and I totally agree. And I am Tammie Stein, and
Of course. I
and
couldn't agree more with
and
that.
Otis Toole did barbecue the flesh of his victims.
That's undeniable. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely a fact. And it's terrifying.
I
And it's
personally,
real.
wow, yeah, I would never eat a human being. That's it was awful, but also super unhealthy.
Yeah, there's no macros, right?
Exactly,
There's no macro
It's
protein.
also just absolutely awful and
disgusting.
But
Disgusting.
and
Terrible.
so
Wouldn't
and
even
so
taste
and
good.
yet and
Disgusting.
so relatable. Like so us, you know what I mean? We all, I mean,
No.
everybody's been to a barbecue. They're just
Sure,
like us.
that's
They're-
true.
They are just like us.
not everyone is eating human meat
Everybody's
or wanted
been
to kill
to a
someone.
barbecue.
Well, it's all shades of gray.
I mean, it's the 4th of July, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Isn't it?
Is it the 4th of July? Speak on
To
it.
be honest, I don't know.
Oh, no.
I've stopped. I make so much money off the ad reads and all that I kind of stopped paying attention to what day it is.
You know, and that would be
you don't use
a really great topic to talk about is how podcasters' perceptions of reality can change, right? You know, I'm sure.
Begin discussing this topic now.
Sure.
Absolutely.
People who make money in doing podcasting tend to make money really quickly, you know, through live reading ad copy.
Sure, some people might read ads on their show, potentially.
Sure.
I can see that happening, hypothetically.
And there just tends to be a really, this hyper performance of your podcast character or persona that overtakes your actual authentic personality.
Well, I'll speak to that because it's a great question. I categorically disagree with you. Of course, I'm thinking again of my own experiences as the host of the critically acclaimed, I was featured on the Onion AV Club frequently, but it's not around anymore. Unfortunately, I was just too busy. But the host, of course, of Mark Carpet's Pop Experiences. I would say that I was never performing. You know, when I was approaching something like the final season of Home Improvement, you know, when Tim Allen had left and they were experimenting with an all-female cast, my enthusiasm was genuine, and I was being honest when I said that informed a lot of my sensibility. I mean, I'm, authentically a person who is essentially composed entirely of 80s and 90s pop cultural references. Speak on this.
Oh, I was just going to say that I do agree that at a certain point we are performing, but I think that we're all kind of performing all the time, no matter what we're doing. If we're luring women towards cars, or if we're posing on the internet as an underage boy to get an older man into a bunker.
Tammy, I'm sure there's other examples
to the store
that are maybe more a little relatable.
Buy a saw.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
well, please don't do it again.
Sure.
But go ahead.
I was just going to say maybe there's something a little bit more relatable than stalking women to their cars and attempting to barbecue people.
Well, I think that's subjective, no?
I think it's all about our passion, It's whatever you find a passion
I couldn't agree more.
for.
Yeah, it's about, how many people listen, and obviously people
yeah, absolutely. I'd like to move on.
I'd
like to discuss maybe more in depth the art of interviewing and really talk about what makes a good interviewer. You all, to different extents, have podcasts that are about interviewing. And I was wondering, I have my own, thoughts on this subject. I'm of the Manziel method of interviewing, which we can maybe talk about if it comes up in one of your answers. And of course, I'm, deriving my thoughts on that as the host of Mark Carpet's Pop Experiences. But I'm wondering about what makes a good interviewer. I'm wondering if you could expound.
Sure. I think what makes a good interviewer: prep. Meal prepping, CBD milkshakes, like I said earlier, mushroom yogurt, getting yourself ready so you're in the mindset to talk to somebody, and then interviewing them like it is a fight and you have to win.
Absolutely.
I think for me, what I like to do with guests is just, really find out right off the bat who hurt them as a child.
Yeah.
For me, it was Teen Wolf 2. I was let down. Would you like to answer my question?
Sure, I'd love to. The approach I like to take, I am beginning. The approach.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with that.
Great. The approach I like to take is based off of Anna Deavere Smith, the playwright and actress.
Sure, and I do that as well.
And
I have my own thoughts, but I'll let you go.
Sure. Her method when she was writing Twilight Los Angeles, her one-woman show, she said that there are 3 questions you ask people that you get to the core of who they are. What are you most afraid of?
That's a good one. Drowning.
Yes.
Drowning?
Yes.
Drowning. What are the circumstances of your birth as you know it?
Yeah.
And
what?
And
sorry, go ahead. I'll let you say it.
Sure. And what comes next? What do you think comes next after life?
I'd like to, those are good questions. I'd like to answer them.
I'd like to answer them as well. And in fact, I'm sorry, but I so categorically disagree. Really, with,
even though you use the same
method
as you mentioned.
I do, but I do it differently, and more specifically, I do it in a better way than you, I think.
Great, I would love to hear it.
Well, you know what, and I would love to say it.
Well, let's get to it.
And I'll let you talk. And I will let you talk. I'll let you have the last word, but I'd like to finish.
Absolutely, please finish.
Please.
I will be quiet now.
May I?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think you guys should fight after this, like in a ring with a referee.
Well, but
you can work stuff out. Maybe
this is of course a friendly conversation, and I mean, you're one of my best friends. You're one of my closest friends.
We're not.
We both have good builds.
We're friends. But I think we're dealing with words, and I honestly think that
we're not friends.
And we are. But
and
of
pent
course
up white aggression can lead to making people into sandwiches.
I would almost like to propose that if you find yourself so interested in what I have to say, which clearly you are, I propose that we switch seats. Honestly,
I would love it. I would love to host this show.
And I would love for you to love that. And I would love for it to begin now.
Great, absolutely.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Okay. Well, please. I mean, you seem,
after you.
You seem so interested, and it is in fact after you. Yeah. Yes. This feels more correct. It feels right for me to be here. I will no longer deny my own value in discussing podcasting.
Mm. I love this. I just want to say right now that I love this. This is the most pent-up white aggression that I've studied since the Ken and Barbie killers.
Yeah, and I feel like I haven't had to do much, so I really enjoyed, just kind of sitting back. I'm pretty high, so.
What are we on? A lot. I'm sorry, you're the interviewer. Of course.
No, please.
Sour Diesel.
Tyler Garcia here. We're here for podcasting in the new millennium. And our next question is, why do fans feel so connected to podcasters? What is that magic thing that really gets them?
Great question. And of course you are,
the current host.
Clearly, and yes, you're clearly much more suited to simply engage with great minds rather than attempting to be one, and I see that now. And this is why this situation feels so correct. For me, I think it's pop culture. And I think it's being able to talk about pop culture and being able to discuss things like the first 2 seasons of The Simpsons, which are really the only good ones. And I think that when you can engage people on the level of these universal concepts, these universal ideas that everybody knows and loves, like pop culture of the 80s and 90s, people will form this almost mother and child like bond between podcaster and host when you speak about things like Star Wars action figures, things that are universally understood to be key parts of culture and of life.
You hit them in a relatable way. Jack, Tammie, do you guys want to add to this?
I mean, as far as like the connection they feel to me, I think a lot of people just look at me and they think like I'm cool. I'm not saying that I'm cool or whatever, but for whatever reason, I got this generation of young kids that want to be like me and that start podcasts, and I think it's great that they want to like get yoked, talk to people that fight or believe that the earth is flat or whatever it is. I think that's great. I support it. I just want them to listen to me and then get on Dollar Buttons, y'all. Dollar Buttons. Shave City. Also Shave City. That's like you give like $1 a month and they send you shaves. It's really close razor.
May I just say that is the first time a brand has come up naturally in our entire conversation. That did not feel like an ad. That felt like he actually does enjoy that brand.
Well, that's a subjective feeling, of course, that you're having.
Sure,
and I love brands.
Tammie, what do you think makes fans feel so connected to you?
I think a lot of people listening to podcasts want to experience things they are not brave enough to commit, but have always wanted to. And I think that that's how I got into podcasting.
It seems like you want to kill somebody.
No.
I'm getting that vibe from
No,
you.
no, and the thing is,
Blunt as ever.
just listening to me talk about sex with a corpse.
So, do you want to kill somebody, but you're just not doing it because of society, or having sex with a corpse?
They're
that's
just like
wild.
us, and that's the thing, is they're just like us, and that's why I use square chimps.
Damn.
And I do as well.
Do you want to read the rest of that ad copy?
Square
What ad
chimps.
copy?
Do you need to build a website for your next business, but do you have no coding experience and don't have the money to hire someone from Bangladesh to do it for you? Do you need to build an online portfolio but have no idea how to program? Are you in need of an easy solution to your most difficult web developing problems?
Yes.
Square chimps.
I'm sorry that I brought up the killing thing. I think I overstepped my bounds
I used to build
there.
my site, and it's
But then again, when do you not?
easy drag
That's true.
and drop, click and stick, push and pull, lick and
It's okay.
and repeat.
Sorry.
My website looks great.
Square Chimps is great, though.
My website looks great.
Yeah. I
I couldn't have
sell
done it without square chimps.
a lot of merch on my site.
So seriously, I know everyone out there is telling you their website for making websites is the best, but I literally have no coding experience and couldn't afford to hire someone from Bangladesh. And I absolutely love my site. It's simple and easy to navigate. It's absolutely great. Square chimps. Go to
It's got a great name, too, right?
It's got-
Chimps.
Tammie-
I love monkeys.
Tammie, you're shaking.
Love monkeys.
Is there something going on here that you want to...
No.
Something you want to just get off your chest? It's okay.
You bring it, put it, keep it in. Keep it in.
Tip to the interviewer. There's nothing here. I'd move on.
All right. Well, great. This has been Podcasting in the New Millennium. I'm Tyler Garcia. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having us.
Thank you for being
thanks
part of the
so much,
show.
man.
Please don't kill anyone, Tammie.
Yeah. Take care.
Jesus Christ.
Thanks. This has been great. This has really been great. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to go now.
Hey, thanks so much for having us, man.
Yeah,
Really,
good
it's
shit.
been awesome. Take care, man. Thanks so much.
Have a good night.
Hey, yeah, you too. Hey, thanks so much for having us on, man. Right on. Good guy.
Yeah,
Really good guy.
I like him. I think we did some good ad reads
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
That was good character work that you were doing.
Yeah.
All
Want to
right.
go hotbox your car or something?
Yeah, I'm going to go smoke some more pot.
You need a +1?
Yeah, dude.
Hey, all right.
Hell yeah, let's go rip my bomb.
Ooh.
Jack Mickle experience.
Let me get you there, Chief. All right. Yeah. All right, man. Whoa. I'm dragging my own thing. All right. Hey, man. Absolutely. Seriously, great talking with you, man. It's always great to get together with you.
Yeah, I gotta have you on the pod
Oh,
sometime.
dude.
The coordinates are 118 north,
Sour cream blueberry kind of?
37 west,
I'm trying to forget that chick killed somebody.
and you have to dig
Yeah, heavy.
8 feet down,
indica or a sativa or what's up with that?
This is a sativa.
I always forget which
and you'll know
one's,
where to find me.
like in my own head and like which one's going.
You'll
It's
know.
like indica, in the couch. That's right, dude. Right?
Follow the letters.
The other stuff is,
Follow the clippings.
it's a more
Follow the arrows. Follow the bones.
That's what I try to do.
Yeah, dude. I mean, smoking is a huge part
Oh shit, I'm late for the gyno.
Proudly